Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Near Calendars franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the first round of the playoffs, and it was a pretty damn good playoff round for us against this New York Rangers team, which was pretty tough to us last season. We managed to kind of do similar results in terms of scoring goals. As you can see, we won game 1 8-4. So just like last year, we had a lot of goal scoring in that first game. They also had a 5-3 win as well in game 2. 4-3 loss. So at that point, I wasn't too sure if the Rangers were going to start to come back or not. But we did win 7-3, and then we closed them out with a nice shutout win 1-0. So we have been getting better defensively the last few games. The goaltending's starting to get better, which it has been a bit of an issue with Solovyov so far. But in terms of our offense, we've been very good so far at this point in time through 5 games, which is kind of what I was anticipating. We were averaging 4.8 goals for per game, which is damn impressive. So hopefully we can keep that up into the second round against the Carolina Hurricanes. But let me show you guys some of the player stats from that first round, just in case you forgot on how good some of our players are doing. As you can see, Mackinnon and Ferndale both over a point per game, so same with Jaskalainen. Our fourth line, though, was very, very impressive. We had Leg with 6 points and 4 goals on that fourth line in a +7. We also had Leahy on that fourth line with 5 points in a +6. And then we also had down here at the bottom, Nielikainen with the 1 goal but a +6. So Nielikainen obviously not as good offensively as the other two, but still really good plus minuses for that fourth line. As you can see, they led the team, and we had pretty much good plus minuses across the board, except for maybe like say the third line, because Giordano and Leeson weren't really the best. They were probably some of the only guys that weren't doing much for us in that first round. And then, like I said as well, Solovyov's numbers weren't really the best. He had a .906 save percentage, but if we look at his stats from the last few games, because obviously this series went to 5 games only, you could see that he had kind of a rough series for the most part, because it started with an 882, then went to an 875, then to an 871, so he got worse as the season or the playoffs progressed. And in the next 2 games, he played really well. So I don't know if Solovyov's eventually going to find himself this playoff run or not, but he's definitely having a really tough time as of this season and also last year's playoffs too. So hopefully he starts to find himself, and hopefully our team continues to find its offensive game that it's been finding for most of the playoffs so far at this point in time. Now, also, in case you forget, let's show you guys what Carolina's looking like. They didn't have necessarily the best regular season, so I am a little bit skeptical that they could be kind of close to a cheese team as well, just like us. But this is what their roster is looking like. They have a pretty damn good top line, you can see, with Sidu, Arkhipov, and Jarvis. They also have a pretty solid second line with Helenius, Kotkaniemi, and Jurdev. And then third line is even pretty solid, I'd say, with Yashin involved. The fourth line is a little bit weak because of Esteban and Wheel. However, they do have an injury to Andrei Svechnikov, and he will not be returning this series, so at least we won't have to run into him. From a defensive standpoint, you can see their defensive core is pretty well built up too. Having like an 81 on the top 6 pairing is not that bad of an option. And then from the goaltending perspective, they do have our former backup goaltender, Roman Gudas, who was only there for like 5 games last season, which is pretty impressive. And Dennis Hildeby, this guy's actually won a Vezina before, so I really honestly don't know really what to make of this Carolina team. I do think we need to contain that top line if we want to have a chance to win things. They may have also a bit too much offensively minded guys on this roster, so maybe we do have a chance to beat them, but I still feel like this series is definitely going to be one that could be closer than the one against the Rangers. But anyways, before we get into this second round matchup with the Carolina Hurricanes, let's get into your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will get into the second round matchup. So the first comment is from Garage TV, who says, Carolina looks pretty good on paper, but I still think the Islanders have the better team, and Solovyov really needs to find himself. And yeah, I agree. Solovyov's inconsistencies are a little bit worrisome. Now, I don't think he's a player I would still want to trade at any point because he's a good overall goaltender. But you can see, like, he's making $7.5 million. Like, his contract isn't the worst in the world. It is a long-term contract, but $7.5 million is not really that bad for an 88 overall starting goaltender. So I'm hoping that he could find his form that he had a few years ago, because a few years ago Solovyov was actually one of the better goaltenders in the league with a .913 save percentage, but most of the rest of his career has been a little bit inconsistent at times. Like, he's definitely not as good as Gianta in my Draft to Glory series. So hopefully Solovyov starts to find his game again, because obviously his regular season wasn't great. His playoffs so far haven't been super consistent. So it would be good if he could find those games as well and start winning games and getting save percentages probably like above 910 if possible. The next 2 comments are from Michael Dose. The first one says he's probably number 2 because he admires hires one of the best defensemen in the NHL, Duncan Keith, and I don't know if Crane wears number 2 because of that, because if we look at Crane, let's actually go to edit player for instance. I'm kind of curious on what year Crane was born in, because he probably didn't even get to really witness Duncan Keith pretty much in the NHL, almost in a way I feel like, but I'm not too sure. So if we click on Crane here, we'll be able to see when his birthday is, so that way we can kind of see when he actually got to start watching hockey potentially, and maybe if he actually did like Duncan Keith or not. So he was born literally a little bit before the Blackhawks actually won the Stanley Cup in 2010, because that Stanley Cup Finals game in 2010, when did it happen again? Game 6? 2010 Stanley Cup Finals. Let's see. I don't remember exactly when was the final game. So game number 6 was what day? Let me just see. I have to scroll all the way down here. That was on June 9th. So literally a week, or just under a week after this guy was born, 6 days after this guy was born, the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup. So maybe he was born in Canada though. I don't know if he would be a Blackhawks fan growing up or not, but maybe he did like Duncan Keith for a bit, because obviously he got to see some of Duncan Keith's career, but the fact that he also was born a little bit before the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup is kind of funny to see. So he's kind of close to a lot of the ages of some guys in my Discord, or kids in my Discord. There's 2 kids in my Discord, so shout out to those guys. But 2010, damn, I can't even imagine being born in the year 2010. Michael also says Guerin did stay in the game because he also had a holding the stick minor in the second period. So apparently in last game, in that 1-0 win, Guerin did return from injury. He was obviously the franchise player that the Rangers had that was injured for a few games, but he came back and he ended up taking 2 big penalties in that game number 5 appearance, and one of them ended up resulting in us getting a game-winning goal. So shout out to Guerin for giving us a chance to get to this next round, because he decided to take a penalty, and one was a major for, I can't even remember exactly, I think it was cross-checking, but still had 7 penalty minutes. Then that means in like literally 1 game. And the last and final comment is from Simon Taku, says Carolina is a very sniper heavy team, so unless you get goalied, this should be another fairly easy series. Shout out again to your 4th line putting in a lot of hard work. And yeah, the 4th line was absolutely incredible. Like every single game, Leg and Leahy were like setting each other up and all that, so it was pretty fantastic to see that. Obviously, like I said, Neil kind of didn't do as much offensively, but he was also probably maybe going to the net hard, doing little plays like that to help out those guys get some points. So shout out to the 4th line for sure on that. But he says Carolina's a little bit more sniper heavy, and that we should be able to beat them because of that. Let me take a look at the roster again in terms of player types here. If we go throughout their entire lineup here, we got a sniper, there's a sniper on the top line, sniper and Zherdev, a playmaker and Kotkaniemi, a playmaker there, power forward, 2-way forward, playmaker, 2-way forward, sniper, grinder. So they do have a couple 2-way forwards and a grinder, so it's not the worst defensive bottom 6 I've seen. And then obviously their defenders are 2-way, 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 and 2-way. So they don't have any DFDs on this blue line, which is interesting, and no offensive defensemen. So maybe that could also play a little bit of a factor in this series. So with that said, let's get into the second round, see what this team's able to do. Hopefully we continue to win. Like I said, I think this team could easily win a cup this year, just because we were a team that under-assimilated during the regular season still. So let's get into game number 1 on home ice and see if we can continue winning some games here this postseason. Let's go, boys. Let's build off a good first round here and hopefully get Soloviev to start playing really well. First period, game number 1. 2-0, that's a good start again. So our offense has always been pretty consistent so far in this playoffs. Like, we've been scoring a lot of goals in the first period so far. Fido scores early, and then a couple minutes later, Nielikainen scores. So we just shout out Nielikainen for not scoring a lot. But the 4th line literally has continued. It's really good point totals so far here. Like I said, Leahy and Leg were doing a lot of the work in the first round. Leg was doing probably a lot of leg work. But Nielikainen picks up his 2nd goal and 2nd point of the playoffs so far at this point. So the 4th line just continues to be one of the most underrated lines probably we've ever had at this point in time. But anyway, shots are 11-11. It's a 2-0 lead for us. We have 2 goals on our former goaltender Gudas. Can we find a way to keep this lead intact in the second period? Second period. 3-1. Okay, that's not too bad. They did pull within one with a goal from Buchinger, but Jaskalainen scores, so good to see Jaskalainen continuing his good scoring as well because he was pretty damn good in the first round. Shots are 28-21 in favor of us. We're up by a pair of goals. Let's see if we can lock this game down in the third period. And they get a goal immediately from Sidu early, like 30 seconds in, so that's not great. Do we have a response to that? Hopefully Solovyov could just shut them down the rest of the way here. And hopefully we could get like an insurance marker anytime soon. There we go. Bjorkstrand makes it 4-2. That's what I wanted to see. We'll probably get an empty netter here soon too, my guess. Let's see. Do we get an empty net goal too? Yes, we do. Short-handed empty net goal from Boyd. And we are going to win 5-2 in game number 1. So Solovyov is starting to find his game quite a bit as of late. I feel like the last 3 games he's been pretty good. So he makes a total of 29 saves. We had 5 goals on 36 shots. And we do get the victory. So that's a good way to start off the second round. Hopefully it keeps on going from here on out. But Sealfield gets his first goal of the playoffs, which is kind of surprising at this stage, from Crane and Jaskalainen. Nielkainen from Leahy. Then we had Jaskalainen from Howden and Crane. Bjorkstrand from Mäkinen, and Boyd from Tatar. So a lot of different guys are contributing on this team, which is really good to see. And yeah, Crane and Jaskalainen were the only guys with multiple points in that game, but we did get some good plus-minus results from guys like Boyd, Sierra, and everybody else on the defensive core. And then, as I said, Solovyov is starting to find his game quite a bit. He had a .935 save percentage, so his last 3 games have been definitely a lot stronger than his first 3 games of this playoff run. And Jaskalainen gets first star, Solovyov the second star, Boyd the third star. So maybe Solovyov is going to get better as this playoff run goes on. Like I said, he started off really bad in his first 3 games, but since then he's been posting above a .914 save percentage, so he might have finally found his game a little bit here. Looks like our AHL team's on to the next round as well, as they did take out somebody in 4 games, so that's good to see. So shout out to our AHL team. Hopefully they have a good run this year as well. Like I said, I would love to see them win a Calder Cup and us to win a Stanley Cup at some point. So let's get to game number 2. We're going to keep the team the same because everything's been working well so far. We're starting to play better defensively, and our goaltending starting to keep up, or our offense isn't really slowed down that much at all. Let's continue and see if we could take a 2-0 series lead here and take both of our home games. So here we go. Game 2. Let's get her done. First period, game number 2. And 1-1. Okay, I'll take that. Jaskalainen on the power play. They get a goal from Arkhipov. And shots are 13-8 in favor of us. So not a bad first period. It's good to always see us scoring in the first period. This is one of the only times I think we've given up goals in the first period. But a pretty close period in terms of shots as well. Who will be the one to break the deadlock in the second period? Second period? 2 on us. Okay, we do get the lead back, and Sealfield has goals in back-to-back games, so good to see him scoring some goals. I know he's more of a playmaker, so it's really good to see a lot of guys contributing on the roster, because obviously if we were just reliant on one guy, it'd be pretty tough to do, or one line only. But it seems like we're getting goals from like our third line, our second line, our first line. Our third line has been probably our worst line, but it's not the end of the world. Shots are 29-19 in favor of us, so Gudis is kind of keeping Carolina in this because we pretty much dominated that second period, but we only got 1 goal to show for it. So we do have the lead going into the third. Can we lock this game down and take a 2-0 series lead headed to Carolina? Let's see what happens in this third period. Come on, boys. Power play for us, 5-on-3, and we do not score on it, but it did take some time off the clock, which is always good. Final 10 minutes of the third period, still up by a goal. Can we get this one done here? Final 5 minutes. Power play late for us. We make it 3-1. It's the captain, Anton Frundell. That's a huge goal. And that will do it. We're going to win 3-1 in game 2. So our defensive play and goaltending is continuing to be good. And Solovyov is starting to finally be that guy. It's taken him an entire regular season and the start of the playoffs, but he's starting to play really, really good. I know he's probably going to have a bad game eventually again, but he's had like 5 straight games where he's been really good. So we scored 3 goals on 42 shots. They scored 1 on 31. And we've taken both of our home games, which means now hopefully we can find ways to win on the road as well. So we had Jaskalainen from Crane and Giordano. We had Sealfield from Crane and Jaskalainen, and Frundell from Bjorkstrand and Mäkinen. So Giordano gets his first point of the playoffs on that first goal, which is good to see because he's been pretty damn quiet. So Solovyov the first star, Jaskalainen second star, Crane the third star. So pretty good effort on home ice. We score a total of 8 goals, I think. And yeah, 8 goals, and we allow only 3 in 2 games. So, like I said, our defensive play has been getting much, much better. Our goaltending has been a lot stronger, and we're scoring goals. As Ellington in the AHL has been injured till May the 12th, so we'll go replace player on that. But that sucks for the AHL team to have an injury, considering they're in their playoff run right now. They did lose the first game against Hershey 5-2, but I don't blame them because Hershey's usually always a really good AHL team. So, anyways, with that said, I think we got to keep the team the same, to be honest, because there's not really any room for improvement when you're playing this good defensively, this good offensively. So let's keep the team the same going into Carolina and see if we could take a 3-0 stranglehold on the Canes. Right now we're on complete cruise control because we have not lost since, I guess that's, 4-3 loss. We're just cruising through teams. Let's see if we can continue that on the road here. I'd expect Carolina to at least win at least one game against us, but you never know what could happen here. We might honestly pull off a sweep too. So let's see if we could find ways to win on the road too. First period, game number 3. It is 1-0 Carolina. So for one of the only times I think that I could recollect in this playoff run, I don't think we've ever been trailing after the first period. I could be wrong. There could be one other game, but it's 1-0 Canes after the first period with a goal from Dandino. Shots are 15-9 in favor of Carolina. So Carolina's coming out because they know that they need to kind of win this game if they want to have a chance. So Solovyov is definitely still playing good, but our offense needs to find itself in the second period if it possibly can. So can we find a way to score and tie this game up in a second, or even maybe get a couple goals and give ourselves a lead going into the third potentially? Second period. 1-1. Okay, we do tie it up. That's good. Leahy scores again. So, like I said, that fourth line has been absolutely incredible. We only allowed them to 1 shot in that period, I think, because I think they had 15 shots in that first period. I just said, right? They literally had 16 shots total. Now we have 25. So I think we might have outshot them really badly in that second period. We'll definitely take a look at that at the end of the game if I could look at the shot chart, which I'm pretty sure I can. But Leahy ties it up for us. Good to see. Let's see if we could find a way to get that lead now in the third period potentially. Let's see what happens. Come on, boys. Penalty kill to start the third. And they get a goal from Arkhipov on the power play, and they get another one from Sobel. A little bit of a tough time here for Solovyov as we're getting bombarded in shots to start the third period, which is not great. Because I'm pretty sure they only had 1 shot in that second period. So, and now they're getting all these goals in the third period. Zhurdev makes it 4-1. And unfortunately, after 5 straight good games from Solovyov, he has his worst game in a while. And unfortunately, the Canes are going to make it a 2-1 series, but at least we're still up 2-1. If they took one of our games, it would have been a lot worse, but damn. I thought because of how bad we outplayed them in that second, we would have found a way to be able to get goals in that third period, but Gudas was really good against us. And if I do go to the shot chart, look at the shot chart. That's exactly what I was expecting. We outshot them 16-1 in that second period. 16-1. And we only scored 1 goal. So without Gudas, Carolina definitely doesn't win that. But Leahy scores the only goal from Nielikainen and Sierra. All right. We probably don't have any stars. Yeah, that did I surprise. So Gudas just decided to destroy his old team, unfortunately. But it's okay. It's 1 loss. We're not going to worry about it too much. If we lose 2 games in a row, then we'll probably make some adjustments. But so far, we have an 0-2 record, I think, in Game 3. So kind of makes sense that we're not doing good at that stage. Sundin was what position? I don't remember. Oh, he must have already been put in for Ellington. Right? I don't even know where he is. Oh, he's on the 4th line. Yeah, I think he was put in for Ellington or something like that when Ellington was injured. So let's go back to this. And yeah, I think we'll probably not make any adjustments going into this game. Because like I said, we've been losing Game 3s so far. It makes sense that we'd lose the game eventually. So as long as we don't lose multiple in a row, I'm okay with it. So let's see if we could get a response from our team. Obviously, that second period was really good in terms of chances, but we did not score on 16 shots really other than 1 goal. So we definitely need to find our offensive game we got in the first 2 games, because obviously our offense was fantastic in those, but in the last game it wasn't. So do we have a response? Let's go back to Game 4 in Carolina, see if we could take a 3-1 stranglehold, or are we going to have a tie series headed back home? First period, game number 4. Scoreless, I'll take it, but our offense has not scored that much at all these last 4 periods, which is kind of concerning, especially with the amount of shots, because we just outshot them 14-6. So I really hope that we aren't all of a sudden going to lose 4 straight games and barely score any goals, because that would not be good. But a good defensive period, I guess, because we didn't allow a lot of shots, and then Solovyov made the saves he had to. Can we find a way to get that lead in the second period to make it a little bit easier for us in the third period, potentially? Second period? 3-0 us. That's a good period. There we go. That's what we want to see from this team. Schaefer scores. Ciofito scores another goal against the Canes. And Tatar scores as well. So we are outplaying them. We're outshooting them 26-12. Looks like this game is ours for the taking. Just got to find a way to close it out for 20 more minutes. Let's see what ends up happening. But we should be taking a 3-1 stranglehold here, which hopefully we can find a way to close out the series on home ice in this next game. But great response in that second period for our team. Bjorkstrand makes it 4-0. So yeah, it's their insurance marker we needed just in case. But yeah, much better performance. Like I said, that first period we didn't score any goals, so I was a little bit worried, but at least we found ourselves in that second period, and we get back to our offensive ways. Neil kind of decides to score with 8 seconds left, even though there was no empty net, just to kind of be insult to the injury. We outshot them 40-18 in that one, and we win 5-0. So that's a nice little win there. Solovyov gets his second shutout of the playoffs. Only had to make 18 saves, though, but still, good effort from the team. So Schaefer from Salmelainen, Ciofio from Crane Jaskalainen, Tatar's first from Houtanen, and then we have Bjorkstrand from Makinen and Frundell, and also Neil kind of from Leahy. Almost forgot about that one for some reason. But a couple guys scoring their first goals of the playoffs, Tatar and Schaefer. So I feel like everybody on our team has a goal this playoff run so far, except for Giordano and Leeson, I think, which is pretty damn crazy that those guys still don't even have any goals. But a lot of good efforts on this roster. Look at the plus minus. Like, literally everybody on this team was plus, except for, like, these guys, which is the third line. The third line's definitely been the most quiet. Eriksson also hasn't been super good either. So, I don't know why the third line's been so quiet, but they haven't had to do anything so far. Maybe next round they'll have to do stuff if we do get there. So, Solovyov first star of the game. Schaefer second star. Neil Kainen the third star. And we are 1 win away from the conference finals, which we haven't been there, like I said, in quite a while. So our team's just been good in every single area as of late, though. Because we are finding that defensive game, except for this game 3. We're finding that defensive game, the goaltending. We're scoring like 3, 4, 5 goals a game. So everything's been working really nicely with this team. And that's kind of what I was anticipating, because our record was so mid, but our team was so good on paper. So I felt like we were going to get on a good run like this. And just like that, we're 1 win away from the conference finals, which likely we would be playing the Ottawa Senators unless Buffalo comes back against them. So let's keep the team the same, because obviously we have not lost 2 in a row. Let's get to game number 5. I know this episode might end up being really short because of this, but let's see what ends up happening. See if we could close out the Carolina Hurricanes and get ourselves to that conference finals. Come on, boys. Let's get her done. We've been playing great so far. Let's keep it up. First period, game number 5. 3-1 us. That's a fantastic start to a game that we need to eliminate a team in potentially. Dandino scored first for them, so they actually scored first, which is kind of surprising. But Boyd, Giordano, and Leeson. I just literally shouted out Giordano and Leeson for not scoring goals in this playoff run. I'm pretty certain almost every player on our roster has a goal now in this playoff run at this point in time, which is pretty damn insane considering we're only in the second round. But Boyd's got multiple goals in this round as well because he had an empty net goal too, so everybody's been doing a lot of good work for this team, and this might be one of the best teams we've ever built in a franchise mode if it somehow finds a way to win a Stanley Cup this year. But shots are 14-13 in favor of us. We're up 3-1 after 3 unanswered goals. Can we keep this lead intact going into the third potentially? Second period, 3-2. Okay, so they're within 1. We got to be a little bit weary that they're still in this game. So Solovyov, I know you've allowed 2 goals on 17 shots. You're not playing the best in this game. Give me a good third period, and hopefully our offense can find ways to just give us insurance and make us feel safer in the rest of the game. So let's get this third period underway, and let's see if we could hold on to this 3-1 lead potentially. Crane scores immediately 29 seconds into the third, and Sierra makes it 5-2. I don't know if Sierra had scored before this game, so maybe he was one of those other guys that didn't score yet. But 2 early goals to start the third period is just what I wanted to see, and Sierra's just going to add another one just in case he didn't score enough already. And Jaskalainen makes it 7-2. Damn, our offense is friggin' insane, and our goaltending and defense is finding itself too. And we are going to take out the Carolina Hurricanes in 5 games, just like we did to the New York Rangers. The exact same result, too. because we did lose game 3 in both series so far at this point. But we outshot them 43-24. They did win one game, but obviously they could not win multiple against us because we are just too dominant at this stage. So in terms of goals, we had Boyd from Leahy and Legg, Giordano's first from Schaefer, Leeson's first from Houghton and Tatar, Crane from Jaskalainen, Sierra's first from Crane and Jaskalainen, Sierra's second from Giordano and Samalainen, and Jaskalainen from Crane and Ciofito. So I think everybody on our roster has a goal in this playoff run. I'm pretty sure. There might be one guy probably that doesn't, but I don't know who it is. But look at all these points. Like, this is how the depth scoring is on this team, and that's why I'm always such a stickler for depth. Like, I really like having good depth scoring, and everybody on this roster picked up a point in this game, except for 5 guys. Somehow there was a couple of guys that were minus, Bjorkstrand and Mäkinen, but they must have been out there for like a shorthanded goal or something. I'm not even too sure, to be honest. They're out there for the first goal, and then they just weren't out there for any of our goals, which is kind of weird. And then a .917 save percentage from Solovyov. It wasn't the best game at first, but he had a good third period, locked it down. That's kind of what we want to see from him. And in the 3 stars of the game, Crane the first star, Jaskalainen the second star, both with 3 points. And then you had Sierra the third star with 2 goals. So a lot of unsung heroes on this team, and we are going to find ourselves into that next round, which we will be taking on not a decided team yet. It might end up being Buffalo still. I feel like Buffalo is one of these teams as well that's going to be kind of a cheese team, because they were definitely not... they were trying to sell at the deadline, and now they made the playoffs, so they might be just as cheesy as us, almost in a sense, with our record. So that'll be interesting if we do end up having to face them. But anyways, now that that second round is done, let's take a look at our player stats after the second round. We've only taken 10 games to get to the conference finals. So far, everything's been working really, really well. So in terms of our player stats through all these rounds, let's take a look at the centers. So we have Mäkinen on 11 points, so he's still over point per game. He's a -1 somehow, which I don't really understand, but not going to complain. Leahy's on 9 points and a +10 as a 4th liner. Holy moly. This guy might get a lot of statistical growth, but Leahy definitely should be our 3rd line center next season. Eriksson should be probably a top 6 center, and we could probably use Ciofito as a 3rd line right winger behind Giordano, or he and then Giordano could swap positions. Not really too sure exactly. But Bjorkstrand on 7 points, Giordano's on 3. Giordano's still kind of quiet, but he did find a way to get some points in that round. Eriksson's only on 2 points. I don't think he had a single point in that series, which is kind of surprising. Left wing side of things, we have Crane on 3 goals and 13 points. He's been fantastic. Frondell's only on 10 points in 10 games, but that's still good, but he's still been a bit more quiet for a top-line guy. Ciofito on 8 points, really good. Legg on 7 points, +11. Yeah, that 4th line's awesome. And the 3rd line's been probably our worst point. Leeson only 1 goal in 10 games, -3. So, yeah, that 3rd line is definitely the main cause of issues, but if our 4th line's doing good, I don't really care if our 3rd line's not. Right wing side of things, Jaskalainen's on 15 points. He's been fantastic. Obviously, he's a pending free agent at the end of the year, so he's probably going to want to get paid some big money. And I don't know if he'll come back, but he's been really good here with this playoff run. Nielkainen's now on 3 goals and 4 points, so he's starting to find his offense a little bit too. From a defensive standpoint, we have Houghton on 9 points in 10 games, Salmelainen on 5 and a +9. Let's go. Tatar on 5 points, Boyd on 4, Sierra on 4, and Schaefer on 2. And then from a goaltending perspective, Solovyov has now got a .918 save percentage and a 2.3 goals against average. Now, I don't know if it's because we're playing better defensively in front of Solovyov or he's starting to find his game, but that's really good to see after he, like I said, in the first 3 games of the playoff run, he was not the best. But now if we go to all skaters, you can see what I mean. Everybody on this team has a goal in the playoff run. Every single defenseman has a goal too, which is kind of insane. And then everybody on this team has an assist almost too, except for Leeson. So literally have everybody almost on 2+ points except for Leeson. So just very good numbers. And then the +- too. Like I said, it's only that 3rd line and Mäkinen that are minus right now. So everything's been working great for this team. And hopefully that continues in the next episode when we take on who? Is it going to be Buffalo or is it going to be Ottawa? Let's see. Buffalo or Ottawa? Smits has been injured in the AHL. Damn, that's the goaltender, I think, with a swollen knee out till June the 4th. That's a pretty big blow. The AHL team might get eliminated because of these injuries, but let's go best lines in the AHL. Screw it. And it's going to be Ottawa because Buffalo just got eliminated in Game 6. And then the Western Conference Finals is going to be... Who's the Western Conference Finals? Edmonton and Utah. Edmonton and Utah. Okay, that's interesting. All right. So we do take on the Sens in the conference finals. They had a better record than us, so maybe we kind of look like a cheese team based on that. But they were 9-1 in their last 10 games going into the playoffs. 47-30-5 during the regular season. So let's take a look at what they've been simulating like so far during the playoffs and what they did during the regular season and all that. And then we'll take a look at their roster. But in terms of the entire league, you can see, yeah, they were the second best team in the Eastern Conference. So for us to be as low as we are, I still feel like we could surprise them for sure because we were good in goals for and stuff, right? We were a better offensive team than them, despite them being so high up. They were a much better defensive team in the regular season, and in terms of power play percentage, we were better. Penalty kill percentage, they were better. So they're a better defensive team, we're a better offensive team, which is interesting. But in terms of playoff stats, this is obviously where it matters a little bit more. If we go to Eastern Conference here and sort by wins, you can see they're 8-2 in the playoffs just like us. So both of us have been cruising through the team so far. We're scoring way more goals than they are. We're better defensively than they are. We're better on the power play. And the penalty kill, we are better as well. So we're better at everything than them right now in this playoff run despite having the exact same record. Now they are 5-0 on the road, which is pretty insane. And so far on home ice, they haven't been as good. But they're definitely a good road team apparently at this stage. All right, I don't know if we've ever taken them on in the playoffs before. I don't think so. So I'm not really too sure what their roster looks at this stage. I can see that it says Wallsted's their starting goaltender, and he has some really good stats. So it might end up being a defensive duel in this conference finals. But let's take a look at what they are rocking. As like I said, I don't think we've ever played them before in the playoffs. So kind of curious on who's still there at this stage, considering it's 2036. So, first line, Darren Bates. I do remember this guy, high elite, second overall, 2034. So, only 2 years ago. So, they are a team that's just getting back into the playoff mix, I guess. They also have Stützle still and Zach Bolduc's on that top line. I don't know how Zach Bolduc got up to an 87, but must be statistical. But that's a really solid first line again. Second line has Roger McQueen, Brendan Brisson, and Brady Tkachuk is still there at 36 as an 86 overall now. So, pretty solid top six. Third line, Ridley Gregg is there. Shane Pinto is there. And Jacob Perreault. Not a bad third line, except for Perreault maybe. And a fourth line of Will Cooley, Adrian Cardwell, and Merrick Vanacker. So, yeah, that offense, of course, not bad. They have good left wing depth. They have solid right wing depth. Down the middle, they're very strong. So I can kind of see why they simulate decently. And then from a defensive standpoint, they have Hugo Bergeron. Why do I recognize that name? Oh, he was drafted by Nashville, 5th overall, like a decade ago almost. I think it's probably from that. He left Nashville only a few years ago. Interesting. Okay. So he's with Carter Yakemchuk, and then I also have Mr. Jaden Aubrey. They also have Jake Sanderson still. And a top 6 pairing of Mario Ottereiz, which is still a funny last name, and Topi Niemela. So that defensive core isn't insane, but they do have 287s on it. So it's a pretty good defensive core, a pretty good offensive core. And we know that they have Wallstead too. So they do have a really good goaltender and a solid backup. So I can kind of see why they're a good team in the regular season and playoffs. But are we going to be that type of team that could kind of cheese them out of this conference finals? Also, their depth options, Braden Schneider, that's a good depth defenseman. They also have Oliver Bonk. That's actually really cool. That's actually pretty damn sick. Because obviously when I became a hockey fan, Radek Bonk, which is Oliver's dad, was playing for the Sens. So that's kind of neat to see him actually on the Sens in franchise mode. Did not expect to see that. That's cool. Okay. And then also they have Emil Heineman as an 84 overall as a healthy scratch. Damn. Was he in the lineup at all this playoff run so far? He was. He played 8 games and then he got scratched. So I guess somebody was injured, but I'm not too sure. And then he came out of the lineup. Who's only played 2 games? Okay, it's Jacob Perreault that was out. Jacob Perreault only played 2 games so far this playoff run. So despite being a 79 overall, they put him in instead of Heineman, which is kind of weird. But yeah, that's a really good team. That's a really good team. I could definitely see what I've gotten this far so far at this point. One thing I want to take a look at quickly. Let's just take a look at these playoff leaders for fun, too. I don't normally do this at this stage, but right now, Oilers, it's Matthew Savoy leading with 20 points. Connor McDavid's up there as well, Liam Ogren. So the Oilers have a lot of the high-end scorers, apparently, right now, still in the playoffs. So there's a chance if we do get to the finals, I feel like likely it could be the Edmonton Oilers that we'd be end up facing, which is kind of funny because obviously both the Edmonton Oilers and the New York Islanders were both like really good cup winning teams back in the 80s, so that would be kind of neat if we did have a matchup like that. But we got to get 4 more wins, beat this Ottawa Senators team, and find ourselves in that cup finals potentially. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our New York Islanders franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to the conference finals for the first time in, I think it's like 8 seasons or so. It's been a while anyways. This young team is doing a lot better than I anticipated for this playoff run, but I'm really excited because this team is really young still on paper. Like, I think a lot of our guys are still 28 and younger, so we're only just getting started with our playoff runs. Like, we could definitely win multiple cups in the series if we try to, so very excited for the playoff runs that we have right now and in the future too. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.